I'm pretty humbled and honored to have my name and my picture on the same poster and on the same list as the presenters that we've heard from today. I, like you, am amazed and uplifted when I come and listen to these presentations. This is my 7th year at American Heritage School. I came here, I won't say by accident, but unlike many of you who are not officially part of American Heritage School, but are looking at what we're doing or what's going on here at the school or what others are doing, and learning and growing from that, I kind of came across the school without knowing much about it. And so I count myself very fortunate that I was able to find a way in, and then after the fact kind of learn and understand more about what makes this school and this methodology so wonderful and so unique. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later on in this presentation. But I teach choir here. I'm the 7th through 12th grade choir teacher. And so, you know, again, when I first came here, my first reaction at most in-service meetings was, this is not for me, you know, this is different. I do choir, right? Choir's a totally different thing. You guys sit in your classrooms all day and you talk about history and do worksheets and, you know, whatever it is you do, and I do choir. So 7 principles, you know, but whatever. I got to teach my choir class. And so I can say that now, can't I? Okay. And through these types of experiences and these trainings, my heart has changed. I have been asked to talk about devotionals a little bit. And of course, at American Heritage School, those who are familiar with American Heritage School, when you hear the word devotional, very often the first thing you think about is some sort of a theatrical presentation up here involving costumes and lights and music and different things. And I'm going to talk about that as well, but I'm also going to talk about the daily classroom devotionals. And this is not a new idea. I know this is something that you do in your families. Many of you probably do a morning devotional of some sort where you begin the day with activities that are meant to focus on what it is that's most important. And so I'm going to talk about both of those things. They're a little bit different. They look very different. You know, the yearly grade level devotional presentations, which I think are a unique part of American Heritage, and also just the daily classroom devotionals. They look very different, but I think they have some very common unifying elements. First, the daily classroom devotionals. So in my first year here, I wanted to get to know the school a little bit better and understand the teachers and, you know, what's this 4Ring and what's all this, you know, stuff that I keep hearing about. And so I went and sat in on Mrs. Updike's class, who's a 7th grade teacher here at American Heritage School. And she's been here for quite some time and has a reputation for knowing a lot about these methods. In fact, I believe she was one of the first teachers, correct me if I'm wrong, that went out to Virginia and did this training and kind of got us acquainted with the FACE methodology. This is just one of Mrs. Updike's binders, okay, talk about notebook method. If you go in her room, there's an entire wall lined with these, okay, about various subjects and different things from history. And so I came in and I sat down and I started you know, observing her class. I came from a education program at BYU and had a very wonderful training there, and but it was very much a mindset of how do we get the most done in the least amount of time, right? And so I remember sitting down at the beginning of the day, and they started with the prayer and, you know, hymn, and then she got up and she started showing these pictures of hands. She's got some of them in here. You're welcome to come take a look at this afterward if you'd like. By the way, she's not here because she's in here doing her trip back east with her scholars. But she started showing all these hands pictures, and, you know, didn't say much, and flipped through them, and then she proceeded to give this devotional about hands. And my first reaction was, you know, staring at the clock, going, "Are you going to teach English today? I mean, what teacher can afford to spend this time, right?" In my naive state. But by the end of that devotional, there was not a lot of dry eyes in the classroom, including my own and the students that were in that room. And I think that was one of the moments that I realized that when when learning begins with a proper focus, which of course we've learned throughout the entire presentation today, where that proper focus, which is on God, that the seeds are planted for real, meaningful, focused learning. And after that devotional was over, there was a sense in the classroom of, I know my purpose, I know why I'm here, and I know why we need to do grammar today, right? And that was powerful, and I felt that. This is, by the way, a student example. She lets her students draw while she does devotionals, and this was an example of a student drawing during this devotional. Webster Dictionary, 1828. Okay, another one of my moments early on here. I thought, oh my goodness, this school is using an 1828 dictionary. What is going on around here? If you have not spent any time with the Webster 1828 dictionary, or if you have ideas or notions that we know better about what words mean now than they did in 1828, I would invite you to spend some time in there. I've started using it in my personal scripture study. The word devote, transitive verb, to appropriate by vow, to set apart or dedicate by solemn act, to consecrate. And similar to that, devotion, the noun form, is the state of being dedicated, consecrated, or solemnly set apart for a particular purpose. And so again, I think this fits in so well with the principle that Janet just talked about, this fullness of liberty through unity with God and man. And of course, I don't think it's accidental that we have God first in there, right? Unity with God naturally leads to unity with our fellow man. And of course, the secular view of that sometimes in education is exactly the opposite. I'm here to learn math so that I can be good for society and help build society, and the focus is just kind of squarely on each other. And what the devotional does at the beginning of the day is it, again, allows us to put our focus exactly where it needs to be, which in turn, helps us to be most effective toward our fellow man. This is particularly relevant and impactful in choir. Choir and ensemble situations are, by definition, can be very authoritarian, right? We have this situation where there's a person at the front of the room who is the conductor, right? And however many number of followers in front of them, right? And I've been in many ensembles, and perhaps you have, where this format that is just inherent in our performance of Western music can feel very authoritarian, right? Can feel very demanding. I've had directors that have actually thrown music stands across the room. I don't know if you've had that director or not, but I haven't done it yet. But I found that when I started incorporating these devotionals into my morning routine, I didn't have to do that, right? Again, I was able to get the consent of the students, right? They wanted to be there. They wanted to be focused. They understood our central purpose, what we were doing there, which is to create beauty and music to glorify God. And there was no power struggle. There was no, hey, you sit up over there, come on. Occasionally I have to remind them, but the consent is always there. This is what my morning devotionals consist of, and of course there's probably different ways you could do this in different formats, but we begin with the hymn, and I could spend a lot of time talking about the power of the untapped power of group singing that I think is there, right? When we sing together, there's something about singing and creating music together and singing hymns that can be very unifying. A prayer, of course, and I also include the pledge as part of this, and then we have a thought. Sometimes I give the thought. Every Monday I schedule myself as the thought, and then the other days of the week I have the other students sign up to do this, all right? So that is the daily classroom devotionals. I'm going to talk very briefly now about this thing that we call devotionals that's unique at American Heritage School. This is a picture of, I think, the second grade devotional. I think I've got a video here of this, but let me just show you this to kind of give you a better idea. I think a picture's worth 1,000 words. Let's see, Melanie, is that sound turned on from your side? I told her we didn't need to test the sound because. All right, well, it may come up or may not, but there's kind of three things that are part of these devotionals. Of course, you can see visually there's a lot of stuff going on. There's props, there's scenery, there's costumes, and what the students do, primarily, there's three things I think that are the main parts of this. There's individual speaking parts by students where they're sharing quotes, they're sharing commentary, they're sharing scriptures, they're sharing testimonies about things that they've learned in their classroom and how it ties into the curriculum. And then, of course, they're singing, right? They're singing together and using music. I feel very blessed to be a music teacher here at American Heritage because I feel like it's understood that in educating the hearts and the minds, there's very few things that can be done to educate hearts, I think, more effectively than music and the arts, and I really enjoy that opportunity. Skip over that here. I think this applies particularly well to Principle 6, cultivating Christian self-government in others, right? We don't just learn these principles, right? As soon as we learn them and we've internalized them, what do we do with them? We share them, right? It's just the natural order of what we're doing here, right? We're here to learn, to share, and to serve. And so in these devotional presentations, we're able to share that learning with others and help them to develop that same Christian character. I wish I could show you, and I tried to find these devotional presentations we do kindergarten through grade 12. And I wish I could show you they were all wonderful, but the 10th grade devotional this year. Is Mr. Dye in here? Mr. Dye is a closet drama director. I was so impressed with what he did with this devotional. It was so powerful. It was so powerful, and so was the 11th grade, and so was the 12th grade. But to hear them talk about the literature that they're learning, To Kill a Mockingbird, and Lord of the Rings, and Gandhi, and these different characters from history and literature, and then tie them back to the Christian model and what they teach us about that is particularly impactful in the upper grades. Of course, I mentioned these already, different elements in this are scriptures, quotations, poems, commentary, testimonies, sometimes group recitation of memorizations that are done in class, music, and then in the 12th grade we even had dance this year, which I thought was really wonderful. So I know that it's important to start with the right focus, and I've received a testimony of this myself in my own classroom, and I would encourage you to use devotionals in whatever form or fashion to do that. Thank you.
All right, we made it. I'm going to be speaking about celebrations. So I figured we could go home early. We can celebrate. My name is Mr. Jeremy Randall. I've been here for 7 years. Sounds like we've got a 7-year reunion coming up. We've got a lot of those around here. I teach 6th grade, and I love it. I really love being here. This school has changed me as a teacher and as an individual. And I'm grateful for those who have gone before, the bamboo layers, and those who have spoken. I feel very honored to be here today to talk to you about celebrations, which I'm also very happy not to be talking about word studies again. So thank you, whoever put the agenda together. Nancy, you did a great job. I think Mr. Randall actually has a reputation about being a pretty stern and serious teacher, spiritual. But here's a secret. My motto is work hard and play hard. And my students know that Mr. Randall loves to have fun. And I do have a lot of fun. So celebrations are a culmination of everything that we've learned today. So I'm going to go through the fun stuff, because if we get cut short time, then we don't have to go through some of the other stuff. So just one thing to add to that bio, by the way, I wanted to add that. I don't know why I've revised that bio like 3 times, but that was the one that was put in there like 7 years ago. So I guess the only thing that I could add there would be we're going to be celebrating our 6th child at the beginning of school next summer. So we've multiplied. So that's cause for celebration. That celebration has been a long time coming because he's a surprise child. My kids are excited though. Celebrations, once again, the capstone of all that we've done here. I'm going to show you a lot of the celebrations that go on in 6th grade. Once again, I teach 6th grade. You know, when my former students come back and I ask them, and they relate things to my current 6th grade students about, or scholars, about what they remember about 6th grade. What are some of the highlights? Besides history, they always say the celebrations, right? That's what we remember. So I'm going to show you a lot of celebratory slides. And a lot of you are teachers here, a lot of you are parents, homeschoolers. I'm also a homeschooler myself. I'll be having my first child here this coming school year in 6th grade. As I go through these, I want you to pay attention to about 5 things, and then we're going to discuss those after we go through them. But celebrations are meant to create memories, right? As we take the learning from the mind and get it into our heart, it makes an impression, right? And that's what we remember because we're connecting with real life. So memories are comprised of a lot of things. Think of family reunions, right? Those are some of our greatest celebrations. So we've got some elements there. We've got food, we've got fun, we've got friends or family members in that case. There's a certain element of faith where we're sharing stories, we're sharing our own lives, we're sharing what we've learned. And hopefully, especially in the school context, the academic context, we're reinforcing the learning that's taken place throughout the quarter, throughout the semester, throughout the unit. Okay? So here we go. I've brought some props with us. So we take a few field trips. This is GILGAL Gardens, one of the best kept secrets in Salt Lake. Look it up. It's a beautiful place. It's a celebration of the restoration of knowledge and truth. This is kind of the culmination of all that we've done over the summer. We used to go at the end of the year. Now we go at the beginning of the year because of the seasons, and we need to go when the gardens and grass are blooming and things. So anyway, that's a celebration of those things. We then go across town to the International Peace Gardens. This is a beautiful garden that has monuments of many different nationalities and nations. It's a beautiful place in a sketchy part of town, but it's a celebration of nations. Okay, one of the highlights of 6th grade, everyone knows, all the younger kids are going up, walking through the hallways, is our Egyptian masks, okay? Where we get to celebrate Egypt. We also watch the 10 Commandments, which a lot of kids have never even seen, by the way. Celebrating righteousness, okay? And Moses' bringing of the 10 Commandments to us. So a whole unit on that. I finally had my students finally said, Mr. Randall, when are you going to do yours? Right? So this, minus the glasses. Fun activities that they get to be molded and plastered and get a feel for what it's like, claustrophobia, and that's a big project, but they love it. A lot of fun there. HOLDMAN Studios at Thanksgiving Point, we go and learn about glass blowing and stained glass. The children actually have started to make their own flowers, and we get to see a lot of the stained glass that goes into a lot of the temples. It's celebrating what we've learned in ancient cultures, specifically Phoenicia and the glass blowers there, and then the Middle Ages when they used stained glass. Greek Olympic Games. I've just got a little clip here. This is our celebration of Greece. I just wanted to show you just a real quick. We could watch 15 minutes of that if you want to. We do this every year, and the kids love it. It's so much fun. They costumes, they do the research on the city-states. Of course, we do an essay before that to compare those. but we get to do different, they get to do different events, they work as a team. So a celebration of unity there, you see the seventh principle, okay? We don't need that picture up. Okay. One of the other great traditions that we've started in 7th grade is our Roman chariot races, okay? Celebration of Rome and working together, okay? We combined different teams and we actually researched how Rome ran their chariot races in the different colors. And I set up a lot of different relay races. I loved track and field when I was a kid, so Rome and Greece, they're just fun for me. We've got Caesar Connecticus right there in the center, who does a great job. We've had no casualties so far. We used to have Caesar Wayland up there. You can see the feasting going on. They're in their different team down in that bottom right-hand corner picture. So a lot of different races there. That's a lot of fun. Whoops. Okay, and then we finally get to the Middle Ages to cap off our year, and we do an Armor of God presentation that has an academic level to it because we talk about the Middle Ages, and our presenter dresses them up. You can see a stage full of medieval knight things and costumes. And then he calls one boy up, which I just saw Mrs. Pettingill. Her boy came up this year and dressed him up in full armor. And as he put on each piece of armor, we read from Ephesians 6 about the armor of God. And he talks about for 45 minutes about the spiritual implications of that. And that's a powerful witness to them of having to put on that whole armor of God every day. And that's a great kickoff into our Middle Ages unit. And you get to see, they get to try on a lot of the things there. Okay? Some other things that maybe aren't curricular related are a media fast celebration. Okay? Where the children take a certain amount of time and we go on a media fast. And it's optional, it's not compulsory. But the growth that they have from that, the spiritual experiences, the parent feedback, we have 3 objectives, and that is 1, to draw closer to family, 2, to feel the Spirit more often, and I forget the 3rd objective, but it's really important. Help me out, Amy. Doing hard things. Well, I guess that one's up there, but there was another one. But anyway, then we have a big pizza party afterwards with games where they can really focus on, hey, we can have fun. Oh, that's what it is. We can have fun without media, right? There's other things to do. So that's a lot of fun. I know there's more. Okay. Just some other academic things. Oral book reports. I know that Mrs. Fallon and I do 3 of those throughout the year, and they can dress up in costumes. Celebration of classic literature, heroes and biographies. So you see a lot of them costume there. Here's a poster that one of mine did when we did our adventure book. They have the literature elements, but it gives them a chance to get up and to present what they've learned, and some thematic elements, and why they love the character, and things like that. And then, and finally, to culminate it all, we have our 6th graders actually memorize the living Christ. And we start in February and we end in May. It's a 3-month memorization. And I would say that's probably one of the capstones of 6th grade, and being able to go through that process as we discuss each of those 12-week memorization phases and what each one means and how to build their testimonies. Because in 6th grade, we do focus on Christ. We lay him at the foundation of all we do in American Heritage, but especially in 6th grade because we do get into the meridian of time. And we talk about his role as they're starting to progress from primary into young adulthood, right? From being children into the young adults. And it's a great, that's another reason why I love 6th grade, because it's a great time to celebrate and lay him at the foundation in all that they do so that they have a guide. And we go and celebrate that by going to the temple dressed in our Friday dress uniform and reciting that to the passerbys, but mostly to parents. And that becomes a great memorial and a testimony of their Savior. And we also watch the Testament, at least my class does. And I give a chance to give my final testimony to them as a class. And so that's a great way to celebrate the end of the year, really. So memories. What did you see? Did you see food there? Did you see fun? Obviously friends, faith, and reinforcing learning. I could end now. Sorry. I also, for a Middle Ages celebration, I have them do a coat of arms, and I had a slide for this. So this is to celebrate their individuality and their families, and I have them research. Maybe they don't have a coat of arms, but certainly they can research their own family name, and they have a whole packet where they can see the symbols and the colors and what they mean. And we spend a day doing that in a chess tournament, kind of at the end of our Middle Ages unit. So we have them do that. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. This is the Roman chariot that made the historic cabinet up in my room. This was made by a student last year. So this would be an example of one of the chariots that they raced around with. But they make it out of cardboard, and that's what they run around the track with. So just a lot of fun. So we work hard, we play hard, but we remember why we're doing what we're doing, right? So to get on really quickly, celebrate, to praise, to extol, to command, to give to make famous. These are all from the 1828 dictionary. I'll go ahead and let you read through those, and I did have some questions I wanted you to share with your neighbor, but seeing as the time is short, as a teacher, would you just take a minute and think about what you can do now to make your celebrations more, and I know you already do this, but more academic, more fun, maybe more memorable. As parents, the same thing. What may be lacking in your celebrations? Okay, how can you make your celebrations more respectful of others, more praiseworthy of individuals? Okay, based on this definition here. Are honors bestowed or are others distinguished for Christian character? Okay. What kinds of songs, eulogies, or reviewing a curriculum could take place in your celebrations? I wanted to talk a little bit about a memorial. Okay. Once again, from the 1828, that which preserves the memory of something, anything that serves to keep in memory, a monument. So what kind of memorials can you think of? I wanted to just touch on this story. The ancient Hebrews, we inherit a lot from our Hebrew ancestry. And on the first days of school, there was a memorable one for the ancient Hebrews. At dawn that day, a young boy went to the synagogue and heard the story of how Moses received the law from the Lord. Then he was taken to the teacher's house, where he was welcomed and given a slate with passages from the Old Testament written on it. His slate had honey smeared on it, and he licked it off. He also ate some small cakes that had scriptural texts written on them. This ceremony symbolized the sweetness of learning and the necessity of taking action to acquire it. So there's an element here of, once again, we've heard the 4RE methodology of researching, of reasoning it, doing something to get it into the heart, okay? So as we're closing up here, I've placed honey at the end of all the entrances here. I just want you to spread some on your paper and then take a big lick. And then I've got some Hostess cakes you can eat. Okay, I'm just kidding. Had you for a minute. My sixth graders actually asked to do that one time. So you can see that they would be all for that in their learning. What are some other celebrations that the Hebrews would do? These are monumental ones at the circumcision of the boy, the being weaned by the girl, and the first haircut for the boy. So other celebrations that the Hebrews would celebrate for. Creating memorials. I got these from our FACE curriculum. Creating memorials and learning is a biblical concept. Memorials keep us from forgetting. God always instructed his people to build an altar or celebrate a specific move of his divine hand in their deliverance with a feast day, lest they forget his wondrous works and fall back into sin and national decay. Celebrations are days to memorialize learning. They can flow from any subject in the curriculum. They provide opportunities for dressing in costumes, participating in related activities, and eating unique foods. Celebrations are designed so that each student participates as well as interested parents or local leaders. To tie this in real quickly to the principles 6 and 7 of cultivating local self-government, when we receive something, learning, growth, the natural inclination is to want to share it. I'm thinking of Lehi's dream, right? He wanted to share those things, and that's the principle of self-government in 6. This typifies charity, the principle of charity. We want to reach out and share those with others. Going back to the family reunion, you get together because you want to share what you've experienced. Okay. So how do we remember those things? Individuals who experience liberty through Christ seek to bless others with liberty. So that's charity, sharing the good, the uplifting, inspiring with others. So to put this together, 2 things that connect to help you make celebrations more of a reality in your own children's education, in your own classroom, in your own life. You need to have an academic concept and a gospel principle related to those celebrations so that you can act on those, okay? Basically, we're trying to get, as our mission statement says in the first principle, to prepare children to become useful in the hands of the Lord. How this ties into principle 7, the memorial of joy. That's what fullness of liberty through Christ and man does. Brings us joy, and we've heard a lot about that. The ultimate purposes of God's plan of happiness is to enable us to experience a fullness of liberty. This is possible only through the unity with God, our families, and our fellow men, and results when we experience the atoning power of Jesus Christ. So it deepens our feelings of devotion towards God and others. Once again, same principles there. Just in closing, I was able to take a hike with my boys this last weekend, and we were heading up to Maple Mountain for a Fathers and Sons event, and we came across these people who were constructing something on the side of the road. And I stopped to talk to them. I said, "So what's going on here? What are you guys building?" And the lady who was there with her family, she kind of hesitated, and she told me that they were building a memorial for her granddaughter because that was a favorite camping place. And they were doing, her grandson was doing an Eagle Scout project. And as I thought about that, I thought about why do we do these teachings, these philosophies? Why do we make the sacrifices that we do? It's because we love those around us. We're building relationships. We're building memories. We're trying to become like men and women of Christ through the atonement, and so that we can have fullness of joy. And that's the beauty of celebrations. And I share that with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.